Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Highlander Hoops Weekly, presented by the Pete Palmer Law Office. I'm your host, Chris Stoner. Palmer Law Office, a proud supporter of Floyd Central basketball, located on Scribner Drive in New Albany. As always, we thank Pete for his support of Highlander athletics, and we have an upgrade in the studios tonight as we're coming to you from the Amore Restaurant in Highlander Point. I know Pete was nice enough to pick up the tab for the team dinner.
Well, he doesn't have the bill yet. This might be news to him when he checks it out that we signed his name. So the bill will be coming in the mail in a couple of days.
Well, I'm sure Pete will take care of that with no problem whatsoever. Again, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for listening here this season to the Highlander Hoops Weekly. And joined by Coach Sturgeon, we'll also talk with senior Luke Gohmann and junior Cobie Barnes. Well, Coach, your team finished the regular season 22-1, outright Hoosier Hills Conference champions, 7-0 in the conference. You've won 15 straight ball games. And if we could just for a moment revisit Wednesday night, the win over Columbus East, has it sunk in? First outright conference championship since 1986, and just what that means to the program?
Well, now that we're on the eve of the sectional game, we've kind of moved past that, but it was something that we enjoyed. There's been a lot of hard work. We talked about during the course of the season that was going to be our regular season championship. And, usually after games like that, I'm telling the team, hey, we got to get past this and, enjoy it for a couple hours. And then when the sun comes up, we're on to the next game. I didn't tell them that after that game. I let them have a day. Even when we came in the next day on Thursday, I said, I haven't told you, guys might have noticed it. I didn't tell you, you got to let that game go because I really wanted you to enjoy that. That's been, for these seniors, a 4-year process of building and taking step by step by step. And I thought that was an important step that we shouldn't just cast aside and move too quickly past it. That it really was an outstanding accomplishment by this group of guys. But after Thursday, then Friday and Saturday, we've moved on and have had I feel like three pretty good practices in preparation for Bedford.
Luke, I want to ask you real quick, as you're the senior here sitting, before you guys came into high school, just winning a conference game was a challenge for Floyd Central just 5 years ago. Now going 7-0 in the conference and winning the conference title outright, have you had a few days to just digest that a little bit and maybe talking with your dad about the old days of, basketball in the area and just what that means to Floyd Central?
Definitely. It was a big accomplishment for us seniors and also the rest of the team. It wasn't our main goal, but it's also a big, huge step in our process. We're working to win the section, also win a state championship, so we're happy with it.
Well, let's talk about sectional. Coach, you guys had Thursday through Saturday of practice, and then today, Monday, to prepare for Bedford tomorrow night. If you will, can you walk the listeners through the process of preparing for Tuesday night?
Well, and anytime for the sectional, you're trying to prepare for it's a balancing act between you've got the single game in front of you, but also knowing that if you happen to win, preparation gets shorter for each successive game till eventually, if you're lucky enough to make it to the championship, you have a very short time. So what we tried to do was find things that involve preparation for all three teams and things that we would need. And so whether you're talking about the Bailey kid for Bedford, or Falkenstein at Jeff, or Langford, or whether you're talking about East, or whoever the player is, that in preparation, the things that we're doing, that there was carryover to all three teams. And then you have to have the maturity as a team that, like, they understand there are certain things that are specific to each of those three teams that we could play. So now, as we've gotten closer to the Bedford game, there's been less and less of that. But initially, going back to last Thursday and Friday, we were doing a lot of preparing for all three teams. Now, Saturday and today has been, we've been trying to get laser focused on Bedford. We watched film on Bedford today and are dealing specifically with them because, us going to an overtime game with them the first time, it's pretty clear that we can't be overlooking them. We won't. If we lose, it won't be because we were overlooking them, because we respect their team and know that we've got to really be prepared for a difficult game tomorrow.
Cobie, I want to bring you in for a second. And Coach was talking about preparing for teams, preparing for hopefully 3 games this week. You've really stepped up your game in the second half of the season, got more comfortable at the 3-point line. We talked down at Evansville Harrison about that. You've brought the ball up at times. You've been the guy in the middle to break the press at times. At times you've been part of the 2 guards to break a press. So your role's expanded. Your game's really grown throughout the year. Have you worked on anything maybe outside of the team practice, knowing that, hey, teams may try to do something differently against me specifically to try to shut me down in sectional?
I've been working on post moves a lot more because we've posted the ball a lot, and I don't want to give it away, but I have a move. I have one move that I like, and people are starting to catch on to it, and I'm needing to start do other moves because teams have coaches and they'll scout it out,
right,
and they won't let me do it every single time. So I've been working on different post moves and ball handling. I do like 10-15 minutes every day at home or after practice, and I've been shooting a lot of free throws. So.
Well, let's talk about the regular season Bedford game. I wasn't able to make it up to Bedford, an overtime win for your team, Coach, 46-42. Obviously, Bedford did a lot of things right in that game as they led most of the way. They held you to 46 points, even including the overtime period. I'm sure you've reviewed that film. I'm sure you've reviewed it with the team in the past few days of practice, as I think Cobie here was nodding excessively. That's been talked about.
Yeah, they watched every basket that Bedford scored today before practice.
Then that would be a yes. But take us through that game a little bit, and specifically what Bedford did well that night to push you guys to overtime.
Well, they did an outstanding job of dictating tempo, that they did not take any quick bad shots. And so they had that going at one end, and then they just competed like it was a team on senior night, and it was. And they were physical with us. They crashed the boards. They may have, I think it was the closest game, the smallest margin that we've had on the boards all year long. I think maybe we were only plus 4 or 5, and I bet if you stopped that with, halfway through the fourth quarter, we were probably at a draw at that point. And so they did a lot of things right. Got to give them credit. They have some really good guard play, guys that can drive it. They've also got 3 or 4 guys that can shoot the ball and spread you out. So that's a tough combination. And then they got in the Stockman kid, an undersized post guy that might be as tough an hombre as we play all year long. And the Bailey kid is a fantastic driver of the basketball and competes hard. I got a lot of respect for him. So many kids that, in high school basketball that have a little bit of a name in a given town, and they feel like it's their birthright and play a certain way. He plays like he's trying to prove himself every quarter of every game. He plays hard, competes, rebounds, defends. And so I've got a lot of respect for him. And they've had a really nice season. They struggled. Last year was the first year for a new coach. They struggled. They were really young. They think that next year their best team will be next year. So they're just like a year behind us in their growth and advancement as a team is what they feel like. And we're trying to make sure that we put an end to their growth for this year. We better be ready to play because they'll be a tough out.
Well, they've also won 3 of their last 4 games since losing to you guys in overtime. Bedford at 14-8 on the season. I know you've seen their last 4 games on film. I know you don't want to give away too much as far as how you've dissected that film and how you plan to attack Bedford, at least on the offensive end. But one would think that whatever Bedford's plan was, as you just explained, was pretty good to take you guys to overtime. But wasn't good enough. Is there anything, without giving away too much, that you think they might try to do different? A few little wrinkles or anything that they might try to do?
Who knows? I'm sure that we've watched enough of their tape to know that they didn't try everything that they have in their arsenal against us. They have plays that they didn't run against us. They have a couple of defenses that they didn't use against us because what they were using was working, and so there was no need to go on to plan. Plan A and B was working pretty good, so there's no reason to go to C, D, and E. So what we've got to do is we got to play well enough that we make them go deeper into the playbook to try to find something that'll work. But just like with most teams, I think we're good enough that if we play hard and we get good shots on offense and pound the glass, like I like our chances against about anybody. So it's not, we don't need to make it overly complicated. We just need to not turn the ball over and get good shots and pound the glass. And if that's the case, then we'll take our chances.
Luke Gohmann, there's a lot of seniors on this team, a lot of senior leadership. I don't think it's a secret to say that starts with you and Matthew Weimer. Coach has talked here, we're preparing to play 3 games this week, but focused on Bedford. Has it been that hard? Have you seniors had to do anything in the respect of keeping guys focused on Tuesday night and not looking ahead?
No, not really. Just because of the coaching staff we have at Foot Central. Like, ever since our freshman year, we had it to where focus on that first game of the week. Like, we had Friday, Saturday games where all week prepare for that team on Friday, and then Saturday morning come in and start preparing for the next game. So, like Coach said, we do a lot of things where we find 3 common things that each team does, and we prepare during each practice. But most of the time, we're just looking at taking one game at a time.
Cobie, going to kind of put you on the spot here as your eyes light up. So you and Luke get a lot of attention from the other team's defenses, and rightly so. And there's only so much that an opposition can take away. Kind of have to pick their poison. Is there one of your teammates that you expect, maybe from what you've seen in practice or how they've been playing lately, that if there's some guy that's going to step up and maybe get 12 or 14 points out of the blue, with defense is going to pay so much attention to you and Luke, who would that be?
I really think it could be anybody, but if I had to pick, it'd probably be either Matthew Weimer or Brendan Hobson. Matthew's been shooting the ball really well, so if he keeps shooting the way he has been in practice, he's gonna be pretty good in sectionals. Brendan Hobson, he gets a quiet like 8-10 points, and then some nights he'll just have a really good night. And he plays hard, and he's such a good slasher. So it's one of those things I could see either one of those guys. And Evan Nichols too. He plays hard in big games, and he plays really well. So
he did say that. Remember that when we talked to Evan? He said, "I just don't get nervous in big games. I don't know what it is."
Big game E.
Big game E.
Started calling him Castle Evan ever since last year whenever he was playing Jack Nungy.
That's right.
That's good right there.
Coach, sometimes a basketball season can be a grind. It's a long season. This season, of course, I'm not at practice 6 days a week, but it seemed to fly by, and things go well when you're winning. Of course, winning cures a lot of things. But have you felt the same? Has this season just flown by to you?
Well, the season, it's funny. The dynamic for me is always that, like, the early January, it's like we're slogging along and like, man, really? We've gone this far and we're not even halfway as far as our number of games played. And then by the time you get in early February, the last 3 weeks always seem like they just disappear in the blink of an eye. And especially when you have a group that's been as enjoyable to coach as this group, it's even more so. That's like, wow, you got to be careful that you don't get nostalgic too soon, because that's not a good thing. But you're like, hey, I'm not going to be able to coach these guys that much more, and so so we got to play with that sense of urgency that we are not going to let this end, and so I'm excited. These guys have been working hard. They've been talking about this a long time, and let's let it loose.
Luke, wanted to ask you about the sixth man, and not a player, but the fans, the Kilt crew. They were pretty darn good last year. They've been just as good, if not better, this year. How much do you guys, A, look forward to the intros on home games, and B, do you all do you know what's coming on those intros, or is that a surprise?
Everything the Kilt crew does is a surprise, but no, those guys are phenomenal. They're really creative in the stuff they do. But no, they're a lot of fun.
Does that it's going to be a packed house, probably tomorrow on Tuesday, definitely on the weekend games. If you guys get there, how much confidence, and I'll let both of you talk on this, does it give you just to know that, our section is going to be full of nothing but green and gold?
It's just like boxing. You got guys in your corner, they're supporting you. So it's a great feeling to have going into games.
Anybody you want to talk about in particular, Cobie, in the Kilt crew that just has a extra amount of fun and puts a smile on your face before you walk out there to jump center?
Greg Kawicki.
Who is that?
Greg Kawicki. I see him up there whenever the other team's shooting free throws. He have his shirt off, just doing a bunch of crazy stuff. He's a funny guy. Yeah, he puts a smile on my face. He's a funny guy.
Little partial nudity there to throw off the other team. Wow.
Sometimes it doesn't work, but it's funny to watch.
It's still fun to watch. Well, absolutely. Well, this has been a fun team to follow without a doubt. And thanks so much again to Pete Palmer for paying for your dinner tonight, whether he knows it or not. And
we'll stick a receipt in the mail to him.
Right. And providing with the great Palmer recording studios as well. Coach, that's about all we had. You got anything to wrap things up tonight?
No, Luke used the boxing analogy there. I'm going to have to break out a little Burgess Meredith Rocky line here pregame tomorrow. I'll have to give that some thought.
Have to watch that tonight?
Yeah, we'll have to brush up on the
pull it up on Netflix. Or just cut me, Mick.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Cut me. I'm fine. Well, hey, how about, speaking of toughness, you should talk about the kid from Wisconsin yesterday.
Yeah,
just pop the shoulder back in place and go get 30 on Michigan State.
No problem.
Not a problem.
Miles Bridges.
Not a problem. Luke, Cobie, you got anything to add here before we wrap things up? Good?
That'll be fun.
Focused? Fun? Ready
Look for
to
a
go?
big crowd to make that trip to God's country, Jackson County.
Absolutely.
A great time.
Well, for Coach Sturgeon, for Luke Gohmann, for Cobie Barnes, I'm Chris Stoner saying so long. Thanks for listening, and be sure and make the trip up to Seymour Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, Floyd Central versus Bedford. If they advance, they'll play Jeffersonville Friday at 6 p.m. If they advance in the championship, Saturday night, 7 o'clock at Seymour. Until next time, so long, everybody.